Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Shaw here, ready to go for the final lecture video of this class. Promised myself I wouldn't cry today. All right, anyway, shake it off. Guys, we're here. We made it. We are now going to talk about the state of Missouri. Again, state and local stuff. Now, again, we'll get into, you got to take one more test, for the Missouri Constitution test. But honestly, you guys we're good to go. So anyway, without further ado, let's get to your favorite place, my favorite place, Missouri. All right, so nothing really interesting or nothing really to worry about here. Let's just get to some facts. Okay, so first thing is for Missouri's facts. Again, Missouri's capital is Jefferson City. Missouri became the 24th state in 1821. Missouri's nickname is the Show Me State. The state animal is the mule. The state bird is the bluebird. And the state tree is the dogwood. That was also the favorite tree of Phyllis Shaw, my mother. So there you go. More facts for you. All right, let's get into the legislative branch. So the first thing to know is that Missouri's legislature is known as the General Assembly. So just like we have the name for the federal legislature is Congress. Okay, the name for Missouri's legislature is the General Assembly. The General Assembly is divided into two houses. Okay, again, just like the federal branch or the federal legislature, again, the Senate is the upper house and the House of Representatives is the lower house. The legislative session is from January to May each year. Again, I don't know that that's like super relevant for you to know, but again, just in case. So again, really similar there. Just make sure you know the name for the General Assembly. The Senate has 34 members. They each serve 4-year terms, and basically half of the Senate is up for election every 2 years, and they can serve for 8 years maximum. So that is something different. Again, there are term limits in Missouri. Again, you cannot, or at least in the Senate, so you can serve up to 2 terms in Missouri Senate. Again, it is presided over by the lieutenant governor, and the president pro tempore will take over in his or her absence. Again, so that is very similar to the situation in the federal government as well, except the vice president, instead of, or like the vice president is for the federal Senate, the lieutenant governor is for Missouri Senate. The Senate also approves gubernatorial appointments. Again, so anybody that the governor appoints, the Senate is going to confirm that, just like the federal government. And so again, just know that is the word gubernatorial means of or relating to the governor of a U.S. state or to the position of governor. The qualifications for the Senate are that you have to be 30 years old, you have to be a qualified Missouri voter for 3 years, and a resident of their district for 1 year. So you can't just move to a new district and then just automatically run. You have to have lived in Missouri and been a qualified voter there for at least 3 years, and then you have to at least have lived in your district for 1 year before you can run for Senate for that district. Okay, House of Representatives is up next. Again, we have 163 members in the House of Representatives. The representatives serve 2-year terms. Again, you see 8 years maximum. So so there's term limits in both the House and the Senate, and the 2-year terms. So you can serve 4 times as in the House, but only 2 terms in the Senate. Again, the House of Representatives is presided over by the Speaker of the House. Again, nothing new there, just like the federal House. And the qualifications, again, you have to be 24 years old. You have to be a qualified Missouri voter for at least 2 years and a resident of your district for at least 1 year. So pretty similar, but again, just the ages and then the qualified voters are a little bit different. Okay, and that's it for legislative branch. Let's move on to the executive. All right, so the executive branch is headed by the governor. Okay, so again, Missouri's governor is Mike Parson, shown here. Again, the term is 4 years, okay, and the term limit is 2 consecutive terms. So I guess the question is then, can the Missouri governor, say you lost after 4 years, or after your first term, like, would you be able to serve another 8 years afterwards? And my guess is that the answer is probably yes, but we'd have to kind of look into that a little bit more. The qualifications for the governor: you have to be at least 30 years old, you have to be a U.S. citizen for at least 15 years, and you have to live in Missouri for at least 10 years, okay? So again, similar. Again, the only thing I think you guys are going to get messed up on here is that there's new qualifications to memorize, and so just kind of make sure you're keeping those straight, make sure you're getting those down, and then just start working on that. Okay, so the basic powers of Missouri's governor. Again, remember that the governor is like our version of the president, and so in general, the governor is going to enforce the laws of the legislature. So they're going to administer state laws. They will appoint and remove officials. They are a liaison with the federal government. So, for example, if there's like a crisis happening in Missouri, the governor will maybe reach out to the president and let them know what's going on and just keep them informed of what's happening. They will also recommend laws and budget. So that's very similar to what the president does. They will also sign or veto bills, just like the president, call special sessions, command the National Guard in Missouri. And then they'll also grant pardons, reprieves, or commutations. Again, be careful here. It's only for state crimes. Again, they can't forgive like federal crimes or anything like that. But also the governor is the ceremonial head of state. Okay, so they're going to do anything having to do with awarding medals or ceremonial stuff or any ceremonies. Again, the governor will take care of that. All right, so there is, again, a number of people that work directly for the governor, and I'm going to go over them next, and we will we'll talk to that or talk about what they do individually. So first up is Missouri's lieutenant governor, and this is actually it's a little bit different than the vice president in that the lieutenant governor and the governor don't run together. So they are kind of like separate elected entities. Regardless, though, the term for Missouri's lieutenant governor is Mike Kehoe, and the term is 4 years, same as the regular governor. The qualifications, again, are going to be the same. At least 30 years old, you have to be a U.S. citizen for at least 15 years, and then live in Missouri at least 10 years. The powers of the lieutenant governor, again, you'll notice that the ceremonial head of state is also there for the lieutenant governor. Just like the vice president, the lieutenant governor is the president of the Senate, as I mentioned earlier. The lieutenant governor will succeed to the governorship if necessary, meaning they will also be an acting governor when needed. So just to give you a quick breakdown, a couple years ago, Eric Greitens was the governor, and he had to resign because he did a bunch of stuff he shouldn't have. And then Mike Parson was the lieutenant governor at the time, and he took over for the remainder of Eric Greitens' term. So that, again, if something similar happened, or if something happened to Mike Parson and he couldn't fulfill the rest of his term, Mike Kehoe would take over. Again, he is also the volunteer coordinator. So if there's a crisis or anything like that, Mike Kehoe would take over and kind of make sure that, getting volunteers to help for different crises and things like that. He's also what's called an ombudsman, which basically, if somebody has a complaint against a public official, a governor, a lieutenant governor, attorney general, anything, if somebody claims that they have been conducting their job incorrectly, or maybe are doing something illegal with their job, it would be the job of the lieutenant governor to investigate that. Again, so I'm not worried about you knowing what that actually means. I just wanted to explain it. So again, that's what an ombudsman is. Okay, next up we have the Secretary of State. Secretary of State is Jay Ashcroft. Again, this is most of these positions that you're going to see here are actually elected positions. So even though the Secretary of State for the federal government is appointed by the president, the Secretary of State for Missouri is actually elected by the people. So the Secretary of State in Missouri is responsible for providing and preserving information for the public. They oversee all elections. That's really the main one. Not the main one, obviously, but think of it as anything that is relevant to like the information that citizens need, like, voting registration lists and things like that, notary registrations. Like, the Secretary of State is going to be in charge of all of that. But again, overseeing all elections is going to be a big deal. The Secretary of State is also the keeper of the Great Seal of the state of Missouri, which sounds very, very distinguished and kind of like Harry Potter-like. But I mean, whatever. I don't know what it is. I've never been Secretary of State before, so maybe it is actually very, very distinguished. Who knows? Anyway, Jay Ashcroft is Missouri's current Secretary of State as well. Okay, next up is the Attorney General. This is Eric Schmitt. Eric Schmitt is, again, the Attorney General, as well as the Secretary of State, is elected by the people. Again, the Attorney General is the chief legal officer of the state. So again, just like the Attorney General for the federal government, this is just the chief lawyer. So he or she will provide legal and criminal investigation services for the state. Also provide legal representation for the state in the state and federal courts, and also provide the governor, the General Assembly, and other officials with legal opinions. So again, if somebody sues Missouri, if Missouri has to sue somebody, then Eric Schmitt would represent Missouri, or somebody from his office would represent Missouri in that case. He's also going to represent the interests of government agencies and citizens, and what I mean by that is he's going to advise state officers, departments, and agencies of their legal rights and responsibilities. So again, exactly what a regular old lawyer would do for you, Eric Schmitt and the Attorney General will do for the state of Missouri. Okay, next up is the state treasurer, and this is currently Scott Fitzpatrick. Again, the state treasurer is also elected by the voters. Again, they have a 4-year term of office, and they may only seek re-election one time. And again, it's like you want the person in charge of your money to be, you don't want them to become corrupted or anything like that. So that's probably the reason for the term limits. Again, basically here, real nice and easy, they manage state funds, they invest state money, and then they pay out state funds as well. So there you go. Not too bad. Anything having to do with money, state treasurer is taking care of that. Okay, the auditor is an elected official, again, so also elected by the people. It's currently Nicole Galloway. They serve a 4-year term of office. And this one's really interesting because they examine the accounts of all state agencies to see if they are operating within the law with respect to efficiency and economy. So basically, what the auditor does is that it will go into certain businesses, or they will go into certain businesses, and they will make sure that what they're doing is legal, what they're all of their practices and things like that are within state laws. And within state boundaries, and also making sure that they're not, making sure that they are as efficient and economical as possible. And then also the auditor will submit an annual report to the General Assembly and the governor. There you go. Okay, moving right along, the judicial branch. Let's go. All right, so the Missouri Supreme Court, and again, obviously I'm sure you guys are seeing some a lot of commonalities, and there are a ton of commonalities. Just a few other, little mini things that you need to kind of change, just so for the Missouri government. So again, the Supreme Court, same kind of deal as the federal Supreme Court, except it just deals with state laws and state issues. There's a Chief Justice that presides over the court. There are 7 justices on the Supreme Court, so that's different. It's 9 for the federal government, 7 for Missouri. They serve 12-year terms, so that's definitely different. Again, remember that federal judges serve for life. Again, in Missouri, they serve 12-year terms. It is the highest court in Missouri, and they are going to hear cases on appeal from lower courts or transferred from the appeals court. So again, anything just very similar to the appellate jurisdiction of the federal Supreme Court. Same goes for the Missouri Supreme Court. Again, the requirements to be on the Supreme Court: you have to be at least 30 years old. You must be a citizen of the United States for at least 15 years, and you must be a qualified Missouri voter for at least 9 years. I'm not sure why they took off the 1 year for the Supreme Court rather than the governor and lieutenant governor. Why wouldn't you just make it the same? Not my job to judge. Okay. So the next branch of or next part of the judicial branch in Missouri is the Court of Appeals. There are 3 districts. There's an Eastern District with 14 judges in St. Louis. The Western District has 11 judges in Kansas City, and the Southern District has 7 judges in Springfield. And they all, as I mentioned, they all also have just same as the Supreme Court, they have a 12-year term of office. They are appointed by the governor and must be approved by the voters in the next general election. So this is really interesting because, again, they're going to initially be appointed by the governor, but they are going to have to go to the voters eventually. And this is really interesting too because, again, we kind of get a little bit more like partisan, and people, maybe the judges will, like, remember the idea was like for the federal government to not have them. You want to kind of have them be above politics. And so the fact that the voters have to approve of the judges here kind of makes it difficult for Missouri judges to do that. Again, I'm sure that they're all wonderful people and they do their job, with dignity, but it's just something that's interesting. Again, the requirements are the same as the Supreme Court. Again, you must be at least 30 years old, must be a citizen of the U.S. for at least 15 years, and must be a qualified Missouri voter for at least 9 years. And they are going to hear cases on appeal from lower courts. So again, if you lose at the lowest level, you can appeal it to the Court of Appeals, and then if you lose there, you can appeal it to the Missouri Supreme Court. Okay, so now this is probably the only thing that's like really confusing, is that the trial courts, like similar to the district courts at the federal level, in Missouri they call them the circuit courts, which is confusing because we call the appellate courts at the federal level circuit courts. Anyway, just sorry about that. It was not my decision. I apologize, but regardless. Make sure you guys are good to go there. So the circuit courts in Missouri are the lowest level of the state courts. There's 45 judicial circuits. There's 133 circuit court judges, 175 associate circuit court judges. And the circuit court judges and associate circuit court judges are elected or selected under the nonpartisan selection plan. Again, the biggest thing here, guys, make sure the word partisan is just a fancy word for party, and like not you when you say something is nonpartisan, it means that it is not involving party, or it's not related to somebody's like political party. So the nonpartisan selection plan just means that they are going to select circuit court judges and associate circuit court judges not based on party affiliation. Okay, and this is really important because, again, I get back to kind of what I said on the last slide, that we don't want judges to be worried about party affiliation. We want them to, interpret the law appropriately, and that's the biggest concern with judges. So anyway, that's the reason for the nonpartisan selection plan. Circuit court judges serve a 6-year term of office. So that is different. Associate circuit court judges serve a 4-year term of office. To be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what the difference is between a circuit court judge and an associate circuit court judge. I imagine that once you associate circuit court judges are like kind of like initiates, and then the circuit court judge you can become a circuit court judge after you have been serving for a number of years. They have all circuit courts have broad jurisdiction over major civil and criminal matters. Again, anytime a Missouri state law is broken, that is going to be heard at initial trial. That original jurisdiction is going to be had by the circuit courts. They're going to hear that case and then decide, guilt or innocence, or if it's a civil matter, they'll decide if somebody needs to be paid, a certain amount of money, depending on what the situation is. Again, the circuit courts, they also have magistrate courts and then also municipal courts. Again, I'm not worried about you really knowing the magistrate courts right now. The municipal courts, though, are things like traffic courts and things like that, or they're going to be kind of closer to that level. So we'll get to that in just a second. Oh, no, we're not going to get to that in just a second. That's it. But real quick, just the municipal courts, like if you have like a traffic violation, like if you're a speeding ticket or something like that, you're going to go to a municipal court, it's like a local court, and then from that you would you would just pay your fine, or, if you want to appeal that, you can do that too. So anyway, guys, that's it. Thanks for hanging out. It's been a wonderful, fantastic year. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love each and every one of you. I'm so proud of you guys knocking this course out. That's it. No tears today. I'm proud of me too. See you guys.